What happened?
Get it.
Oh my gosh.
Stage right. Stage right.
Yeah, I know. You guys got to get better at bad karaoke. You
I
know?
will not. I refuse to sing in public. No.
Apparently, it's the most popular and informative part of the show.
I think they just like your playing. I don't know about singing.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty terrible, so I don't know. I highly
I
doubt.
don't think so.
Yeah. So happy Valentine's, everybody. So it's Valentine's Day, right?
Right. What'd you do for the wifey?
Oh, it's a secret.
He's still figuring it out.
Wait a minute. My cheeks are getting red.
Oh, it's hilarious. Anyway, hey everyone, welcome to Pete. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. We're getting really close to our 250th episode. Isn't that crazy? I think we're on 48. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going on 5 years, and I don't think this train is stopping, right?
Oh,
Nope.
We're just getting started.
It may. Hey, the name change may come later.
A rebrand?
Oh my God, rebranding. Yeah. Well, the whole idea of putting an A in front of IoT got poo-pooed already.
IoT Coffee Talk.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to become IoT Coffee Talk.
Yeah, there is no extension of the acronym. Let's not go crazy.
Yeah. So, hey, you know what, everyone? Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. Remember to like, share, and comment if you'd like to. If you disagree with anything we say, we'd love to argue with you.
Yeah.
And potentially even get into
Guffle.
Yeah, exactly. But remember to take us seriously at your own dire risk. We're just having fun here. And so if you do anything really like nonsensical and potentially even extremely stupid based on anything that we say, you are entirely responsible. So let's
on you.
Yeah, set a baseline, right? That is how you need to think about engaging with the rest of the program. So, but we really appreciate you listening and enjoying the conversation here because, yes, we will rant and rave and have some fun. Hey, what's up, Bill?
What's up, people?
Good morning.
I don't know. I don't know.
Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You know what? I was just thinking, happy Valentine's Day, by the way. So
Happy Valentine's Day.
Wait a minute. Isn't that same little naked kid that shows up on New Year's? I swear I always thought it was.
I had no idea a naked kid shows up on New Year's. That's a new one for me, man.
It's the same one.
Is it like a TO? Christmas TO, like a Christmas log where you spank it and it poops out presents? You know what? If there's anything cultural that I learned on the show in the last 5 years is the TO. And I had no idea there was a Christmas culture where you go out into the woods, find a magic log, you dress it up like I think you dress it up like Little Red Riding Hood, and then you spank it, and then the kids spank it. They smack.
I can't wait.
Did I join the right call here?
What is going on?
Right call. Sorry, guys.
Just officially are getting our X rating on the podcast.
Mature.
Oh, you
Mature rating.
Come on, guys. This is a real thing.
Audiences only.
You know what? All I am doing is I'm paraphrasing, actually describing much better what this tradition is than Marc. Marc is a guy who explained this to us, and none of us knew about it. So, anyways, naked
go.
For New Year's.
The New Year's baby, man. That's a real thing.
Oh yeah, that's true. Naked.
It's the baby. It's the new year. It's the year embodied in a baby, and then at the end of the year, the baby is an old man because it's the end of the year. That's how.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still saying that 2 months later, that's that same kid showing up with
Oh,
a
I see. Valentine's Day.
with a-
That's Cupid. I think
It's a
that's different.
rebrand.
Yeah, it's a rebrand.
bow
It's
and
like
arrow
AIoT.
Same product, different vertical, you know?
I'm just saying it's the same thing, man. Skin it differently.
That's right.
But like, hey, let's talk about that for a moment, because you know what? I mean, what I mean by is like sort of this illusion, or maybe even the reality. Actually, the illusion and the reality of change, how things in the tech industry or in tech just seems to blow by really, really fast, probably faster than any enterprise, organization, or individual can handle at this rate. But maybe talk about that, because I mean, think about it. Just in the last 3 weeks, think about the things that we've been talking about. There was like friggin' Stargate. Then there was DeepSeek.
We forgot about Stargate already. No one's talking.
And then now I see this post by a fellow at IBM about neuromorphic. And then now it looks like everyone is really trying to push this quantum thing, right?
Mm.
And then people are putting out these ridiculous numbers. I went back to some of the famous numbers by some of the famous consulting firms and just marveled at how astronomically wrong they were. So what's going on, guys? I mean, what do you think about the velocity, the perceived or the illusion of velocity versus reality? How close are we? And how do our friends deal with it?
Mm. I think it's really, I empathize for people sort of on the buy side, the end users that are, trying to figure out how do I use tech to help my business. And every week there's a new term and a new breakthrough and a new thing, a new FOMO thing where if they're not using it, they're going to get destroyed. So I empathize with kind of the CTO, CPOs at these Fortune 500s that are trying to navigate all the terminology and the breathless announcements every week. So it's tough.
In the numbers game, though, we're getting to a point to where the market forecasts that are out there, they don't mean anything to anyone. And if you're looking at them and you believe them, you're in trouble. And especially if you're flocking towards that market because you see big dollar signs, you're in trouble.
But tech has always had hockey stick forecasts for decades.
It's really tainting the old school traditional market research that, the way we in the industry, 20 plus years ago learned how to put together models and forecasts, kind of help companies. Now they're so they're so inflated now that they just taint the market. I mean, they taint our industry as a whole. And I feel like we're getting down to the point where we have to create these kinds of models and forecasts for just one company at a time so they can actually see some realistic expectations in front of them, as opposed to, the next shiny thing or FOMO or whatever they're.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's not just damaging existing companies and things like that. I mean, it's seriously hurting startups because they've got to jumble together this whole thing about what's your addressable market and when will you hit that. And to Pete's point, that's where that hockey stick, every single pitch deck that I see, when it looks at their revenue, they're down here, and then you see this.
Right. No one knew what a hockey stick was until the tech world started using them for forecasts.
That's right.
I know, and I always recommend to customers. I'm like, when you're in a new market, stop. Don't get excited about the 2 to 3 years in the very beginning, because the dust will settle, and you're going to see 100+% growth year to year because it's a new market. And a lot of people get really excited about the annual growth rate on a new market. And I'm like, it's a new market. Don't look at that number.
Yeah. It's like, hey, the market size is $2 and we grew the market, 10,000% in 1 year. It's like, and people just don't know how to do statistics and math. It's quite scary. I mean, and I'm not saying this just to be mean, right? It's a serious problem. A lot of people don't know simple statistics. I mean, like literally no and they don't know math.
Well, and when you have the McKinseys and the Deloittes, the big brands coming out there with hundreds of billion-dollar markets and trillion-dollar economic impact numbers for a technology, it's scary. Because people really hang their hat on those numbers.
I think savvy VCs, I mean, I work with a lot of VCs too. Savvy VCs understand when someone comes in and pitches them a story of growth, you know, what are the dependencies, what are the assumptions? And, you know, savvy VCs know how to really kind of figure out the shit from the shinola, as they say. So
I don't know. I've talked to investors, I've talked to VCs, and I've talked to many that, you know, I quite frankly was really underwhelmed with from some big name firms. And if I might speak for on behalf of Rob, if he was here, he would bring back that story that he shared a long time ago on our show about that when he approached a VC on the topic of digital twin, or at least I think the VC brought up the topic of digital twin, and the guy didn't know what they were talking about, right? So I don't think just because they're a quote unquote VC that you give them that much credit.
Well, I said savvy VC. I said savvy.
I have no idea what
Not every VC.
Caveat.
The savvy ones,
educated ones,
know how to pick apart dependencies and assumptions in forecasts. So
yeah.
There's one thing that reassures me in all that quote unquote mess, or shiny object squirrel effect thingy. Talking to boots on the ground, like actual operators in factory floors, medical devices maintainers and whatever, they are actually somewhat far protecting themselves, and at least for the ones that I'm talking to, and they are like maybe working on technology that we call old because it's not the latest preview or whatever. And they are not even in the know of what's not GA or not has been in GA for the last 2 or 3 years. They don't even want to know about it. They're just asking, how long has it been out? Oh, it's not yet out. So, okay, don't talk to me about it. So they were actually shielding themselves, and they're saying, no, I'm going to go with something that has been tested by others. Others would have faced the problems, and I'm going to use that thing that works. Don't tell me about the shiny object. I will care about that in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
No, I think that depending on the industry, you're going to have that. They want it to be out in the field. They don't want to be the first one with it. They want it to be 5 years worth of in-field operations and support before they risk anything in their particular operation. But I think that's especially in more of the industrial space, that's pretty typical stuff. Like for real deployments, it takes a long, long time.
There's still plenty of work on the basics in factories today. Basic networking. You have factories that still have
Ethernet.
100 machines that don't have any network together. They're all operating independently on a PLC. Right. And so we need to discover, okay, are you going to drop a line and pay $10,000 to a contractor to run an Ethernet port in between two machines? Or are you going to set up a private wireless network? Are you going to do a mesh? There's these basic questions before we even start to look at neuromorphic AI. There's still these basics that any company, if you're having trouble, keeping up, because I think I'm having trouble keeping up with all the AI hype right now and all this, go back to the basics. Work on your data foundation. Make sure you have high data quality, and make sure that you have accessibility to your data and that you're able to pull it from a common UNS or unified.
Although I would say neuromorphic is pretty cool stuff. Like if you want high performance, low power AI models, especially in battery powered things, that neuromorphic techniques are pretty amazing. And so just a shout out for neuromorphic. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I don't know enough about that kind of stuff, but even to get
super
to
low
that point
power,
to know
high performance AI, but for very, very edge, but like battery powered devices and things. So
no, we're not. Yeah. And it is an interesting field. It's just we're talking about people using it or suggesting
it, overhyping
it.
Sure.
And just kind of like quantum. The thing is that we have my perception is this is now we have so many people focused on like fairy tale future. Nobody, to the point that Bill makes all the time, is trying to figure out how to solve problems. Like, what problem are you trying to solve? It's like, you can talk about this tech nonsense all day long, but the only reason why you're so fascinated with this is because you think it's some kind of friggin' soap opera, and then there's all this speculative energy and dollars being all into it. You're never going to get there anyways, because you never, like, especially if you're a vendor, you never helped your customer go from, take that next step, right? And you're completely ignorant of the customer's actual reality. And so, yeah, Olivier, you bring up the mindset of the industrial, customer. Yeah, they're in a different place, right? And it is funny with the IT OT conversions conversation, how the IT mindset, when it collides with OT mindset, it's like, oil and water. And it probably never really should come together the way that people think it should come together,
But I mean, it's a simple fact, right? Today, in today's tech society, if you don't make your solution complicated or complex, then what's the real value? So it has to. I mean, there's no simple. No one wants to do a simple answer. Let's make it convoluted and complex. And you can run your 756 word vocabulary across all verticals and go and see, and that's how we do it.
I would say, though, if you're competing in the tech development space, not on the buy side, and you want to create a unique selling proposition and you want to differentiate yourselves, then yes, I agree. I think some companies put in a lot of complexity to sort of say, like, this is why our stuff is better, because it's very complicated. But I think that's the nature of the beast in the tech world. If you want to sort of compete with other folks,
I say reduce the friction and go after the solution.
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you want to get customers and deployments, you have to take all the friction out of that process, and that means simplifying things too. But I think there's a place to sort of articulate differentiation at a detailed level so that people really understand it. But when it comes to solving customer problems, probably simpler is always better.
Yeah. Well, that's where
people forgot what Steve Jobs always said. It's a lot harder to make things simple.
Yeah.
It's easy to make things complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of vendors that are really focused on that simplification process, they are not the face of. They're not the actual. When you're thinking about go to market, who's selling these IoT solutions? There's a lot of vendors that are in this space that are focused on simplification, but they're not the ones talking to the customer. And so it's the vendor that's speaking to the customer, or that's serving the customer, or post-sale is servicing the customer. That's who's important. That's who's going to communicate the value proposition to the end customer. So if you have a partnership kind of portfolio where you're working with a number of vendors to execute, it's really who's speaking to the customer that really needs to focus on, well, how do we look at across our portfolio, even if we're working with other vendors or integrators or whatever, to sell directly to the customer? How are we working with them to help? Sometimes we have to help our partners simplify or communicate that their value proposition, because they're not the face of the customer. They're not speaking directly to the customer or selling or working on the engineering side.
Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah. So any have thoughts on the AI Action Summit that happened this past week in France?
You've been very quiet.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, wow. Well,
where's Debbie? I don't see her.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Debbie.
Hey, I guess the one quote that I heard, that I saw someone toss around on LinkedIn to someone, I believe it was the vice president, said that he wasn't there to talk about safety, but he wants to talk about innovation in AI.
Right. Oh, no.
Like, wow, great.
No brakes, all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. No steering wheel.
No steering wheel either, right? Just
We're gonna innovate. Okay, great. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, they kind of pushed him publicly in front of everybody to sign on to something with the rest of Europe and everybody else to, kind of lock things down, more guardrails, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that.
Them and the UK too.
And the UK also. Right.
Oh, the UK didn't sign on either?
That's right. Yeah.
No, they didn't sign on. So basically, no safety, all innovation. Which is actually concern. It's very interesting because the UK was really the first, even before the EU, they were the first kind of talking about AI safety. Like it never materialized into like regulation or anything, but they were early. So this is very different type of talk at this point from them.
He might have been triggered, whenever you hear a European say the word regulation, you're like,
that's right. Yeah, there you go.
I think he was trying to do the whole America thing.
Visceral reaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually the funny story is that they are trying to create different levels of security in AI. Like they say, in a plane, you have multiple layers of security. So if your AI application needs to be on a plane, for example, or on a health device, so it needs to have the same regulations than any hardware that is on a plane, for example.
Yeah.
But they don't have any clue of what they are talking about.
They'll just put it in a black box.
No,
what I heard from entrepreneurs this week is that a month ago, there was someone from the EU government walking around cities around Europe, pitching to entrepreneurs about this. So just giving a pitch and, okay, give me your feedback. And then it was funny because one entrepreneur from Barcelona told me so I made a bunch of questions. He didn't reply anything. And usually the answers were, okay, I'm going to write this question to improve my pitch. Like, what the fuck? So give me an answer. Do you only want to improve your pitch or you want to so I don't know, it's gonna be crazy.
That's crazy.
Rob,
I think it's gonna be a ridiculous thing like the GDPR thing again.
Oh yeah, friction. Rob, I like that Elevate Our Kids hoodie. Right, way to represent. Yes.
I found this on Etsy. It was like, whoa, I can't believe it. I wonder who made this thing. It's amazing.
I got one too. I'm not wearing it today because I got to get the Valentine's gear out.
Beautiful. You did a great job, Steph. This is awesome.
Amazon special.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it is something to think about because it sounds like responsible, safe, and potentially ethical AI has gone out the door like DEI. You know what I'm saying? And so how do you...
on what country you're in, right? I guess,
Well, that's the thing is we're going to have AI, this different kind of sovereign or national AI policies, which is going to make it very difficult for tech companies to sell and deploy. What you want to do as a tech company is you want to make this thing at high margin and you want to replicate it exactly this thing and you want to sell it everywhere. Well, and now it's like with AI, it's like, well, if I'm selling it into a France deployment versus a UK deployment, there's going to be different regulations and transparency and other things that you have to now. It makes it harder for tech companies to if there's lots of different rules depending on where you're selling stuff into. So,
sure. I mean, but that's all. I mean, it's how it is with the pharma industry, right? I mean, it's highly regulated because there's a safety aspect to it, right? And then, think about what the tech companies are doing, right? I'm not a opponent of innovation at all, but come on, man. What is it? Google's Gemini, Flash 2.0 has, that's not the whole title. The whole title includes experimental and they're pushing this crap out. I mean, come on. I don't understand how that is okay. And how, when you have non-American audiences and countries looking at what these companies are doing, number one, a lot of the data is going to Google, right? God knows what they do with it. I haven't read the T's and C's, but I'm sure that they have stuff in there that probably gives them access to some of the engagement that you have with that model, especially if it's in their SaaS or whatever AI as a service thingy. That's going to look really creepy. It's like, why are you pushing something out that's not even product grade? And what all these companies have done, Apple, Google, Microsoft, all of them are pushing out betas to the mass population, right? Open AI.
It's just like this fear of go to market. Oh, we got to get it out there quickly. But if we put an asterisk next to the bottom of the results that says this is experimental AI, then we're good.
Right. And then say, oh, what's wrong with it?
Remember Google, they had the searcher in beta for 10 years.
Gmail was in beta for like 10 years. I mean,
it was. Yeah.
So for them, it's the standard.
I think we need to wait for the Lumen AI. I'm waiting for that stuff.
Lumen.
Need to go.
Bye. Adios, Marc.
Bye, Marc.
Yeah, I got to drop too. Got a business call.
Oh,
go, Bill. Make some money. Make me that money.
That's right.
It's that we have a call. No, I'm joking.
We're close with each other.
Like,
there's I wanted to chime in about regulation. So we always talk about a regulation around like safety and security and so on. We hardly ever talk about regulations helping interoperability, forcing people to adopt the same standards so that you can have interoperability, which is helping innovation in my own opinion, not stopping it. I was trying to listen to JD Vance's speech at the event, and I almost barfed halfway. It's like, seriously, like the problem is that this asshole is articulated, and people were nodding in the room, and it was like, really? So you want to deregulate everything? You want to go the Wild West way, and you've seen how that works, right? And yeah, right.
America.
And I'm wondering if the conversation shouldn't be less on innovation and whether or not regulations will stop it or slow it down, versus what regulation can bring in a positive way that will foster interoperability and hence help innovation move forward in the right direction the first time, versus like going super fast in the direction and realizing, oh, that's not the right one, let's go in that other direction. And
although I would say on the other side, like legislating interoperability is can be tough. I mean, interoperability tends to happen as best practices in industries based on companies coming together and agreeing that this is a good way for stuff to be interoperable, as opposed to it being sort of a top-down legislation thing.
Yeah, and would argue that they come together to kind of like sort out, how do we deal with that regulation there? Well, let's talk about it together and find the right way to approach it.
And consortiums and standards bodies and stuff, but they're not legislation. They're just best practices based on industry alignment.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, how would aviation or space flight or things with automobiles, how would those industries ever have gotten off the ground, so to speak, without those types of standards, right? Eventually regulations will come. I'm not sure kind of the preemptive regulation is the right way to go, but this Wild West thing, I don't think it's going to work. And I think one of the big surprises one of the things that people don't realize is that if we don't regulate, you're going to be regulated by someone else. Right? So we're talking about regulation here in the U.S., but we have, all these companies, they have to dance by the tune of the EU.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, so we're not regulated over here, but over there, and also of these other countries, they're also taking up a lot of these other regulations. So because those are the higher standards, those are the things to get listened to, as opposed to this Wild West stuff.
Yeah.
Pete said he said de facto. And so as many of you realize, there's standards and there's de facto standards. And this actually goes back to the Wild West. Most standards come from de facto standards, and those came from Wild West cowboys who won the war. Seriously, that's how a lot of that stuff happened.
Yeah.
Consortiums, bodies got together way after the leader put a stake in the ground, and they won because it got the most adoption. I'm not saying this the right way, but just if you look at the past, that's how a lot of things happen.
I do agree and see the same thing. Like innovators go because they go in uncharted territory and try new things. So yes, there's no regulations there, but at some point they will stop and look around and say, okay, so now I figured some number of things out. I know how to do it right, or I can join efforts with another one to do it right. And this is where you establish the regulations. What I'm saying is you don't need to set the regulations before you know what it's for. But as soon as you know the risk, as soon as you know, and for AI, we know a lot of things already. So it's already time to start regulating, not to put boundaries everywhere, let innovation go, but stop, slow down, look around, say, hey, this is well known, these are the risks, let's regulate that, and then move forward with the rest, and not just break all the barriers and just move forward. So Debbie, you were mentioning space. Was Elon Musk driving that? I think that's going to be wild. That's going to be really wild. Well, the movies are not even close to that. And the other one was aviation, Debbie. I freak out each time I see all the planes over Union Lake, over big cities in the US. My daughter's boyfriend is learning to fly. He told me he can fly over the Space Needle. And I'm just like, what? Yeah. If you're that many feet away from it, you're good. I was like, but there are people are leaving under. And who's telling you which path to go through? It's no, that's open space. That's open airs. I was like, it can't be. Try and fly over Paris with a small plane. You're going to be put down in a matter of seconds. It's this what's going on? Seriously, regulations, they are needed.
Yeah. Well, you brought up Elon Musk, and so I thought it was ironic that. Oh no problem. He what was it? He tried to put the brakes on AI. Remember that?
Yes. Everyone's put a pause.
Yeah. So that was kind of ironic. So a so-called innovator wanting to put brakes on innovation, but you're totally right. There's a lot of stuff that's known, and I think that's one of the dangers of the hype. Once the hype starts to go bonkers, then all that is known is forgotten. Do you know what I'm saying? And that I think is where we really get into trouble. And the other thing that I thought was really interesting that JD Vance said was, as we say in the Silicon Valley, if you're not paying, if you're getting something for free, then you're the product, right? Yep. And I don't think this guy actually was thinking through what he was actually saying. He's basically saying, okay, all these American companies, they're coming to you with services. It's not innovation, services that are beta. They're pushing it on you guys, and a lot of it is going to be for free. So in other words, be prepared to be the product. I mean, that's literally what he was saying to that audience, which is really weird. But that's sort of that contradiction that was being presented. Now, I don't know if...
But it's really true.
Math really works out well for, let's say, the Europeans or anyone else. You know what I'm saying? Well, even for Americans, is that a fair trade? Right? Okay, so we're the product. You're going to sell this to advertisers so you can make huge margins globally. Then what does that look like? And so I don't think these guys really think through what they're really talking about. And then in the same breath, they're talking about how we want the, he's on an international stage saying we want the U.S. to continue to dominate AI. And so you put all those themes together, how does that look? You know what I'm saying? The optics.
You know what the optics
objectively, they don't look that great, right? So
I'll tell you what the optics look like, because I have to refer to everything with the movie, of course. I'm imagining as he got up there, he showed the scene from Apocalypse Now when the helicopters are coming in on the beach and they're dun 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 dun. Here comes America. we're going to do some surfing on the beach in Vietnam while we're at it and stuff like that. I'm sure that's what he was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's probably part of it is beating your chest.
Yeah.
Part of it was, hey, there's a new sheriff and we're a bunch of badasses and we got big guns and we don't give a shit about that. I really think it was the same thing when I watched Trump present to the World Economic Forum on video display. You know, he didn't hold back at all. And I was surprised to see all the Europeans going, amazing, even though, you know, they didn't believe in a single thing he said, you know. I was like, okay.
Yeah. But you know what? It's a reality that we have to deal with. A lot of companies have to deal with. They're scratching their heads wondering, well, how do we plan for the future? What are the bets that we should be making, right? So,
Absolutely. Any part of the C-suite of any company, they have to be focused on geopolitics all the time.
Absolutely. And let me just say, uncertainty is expensive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that? Uncertain.
I said uncertainty is expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about friction, sort of some degree of normalcy and stability reduces friction, right? Transparency, or at least transparency in the future. But what I think benefits from volatility and uncertainty is speculation, right? You gamble on stuff. It's like, oh, I think things are going to go this way, so let's place bets here, and instead of a focus on value and generating economic and customer value, everyone's pivoting to the next tech buzzword, or they're reacting to the next geopolitical event, right? So
it's all about the hype machine, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. We got really serious.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let's talk about Austin, Texas, February 25th.
Oh, good idea. Good segue there.
We'll see you all there. Well, actually, Leonard will be there. We're going to do an IoT Coffee Talk there. Is that the plan?
Oh my gosh. You guys do it.
We'll have critical mass there. We'll use the Olivier's live stream setup and stuff, and
because we're going to have the IoT show as well. Live from the
IoT show, IoT Coffee Talk, Career Edge.
Depending on when you do it, I'm only going to be there that one day.
Oh, that's true. Well, maybe you can dial in on that one.
I'll be there. I'll be there on Tuesday and Tuesday evening for Tom's thing. Yeah.
And I've seen you signing up for the IoT show live stream.
I did, assuming there's a slot on Tuesday afternoon, maybe.
I think he signed up early enough, so I think people should continue signing up.
Yeah,
and maybe you'll be bumped out. Maybe there's going to be more interesting topics.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you might get bumped, things. Rob.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to lose friends here.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay.
Yes, you can be famous, and be on Olivier's live stream at the IoT show at the event. So it'll be fun.
That's true.
I don't know about the famous part, but
more famous.
More famous,
technically more famous.
We're famous in a little subset of a segment of a Right.
Oh, that's crazy.
What else is
up there? Oh,
I'm loving the dog with the cone. You guys probably already talked about that earlier.
Shane. Yeah. He has allergies. He's eating his own tail.
Really?
Yeah. Dog tail.
What happened to the floaty?
Oh yeah, the donut.
Yeah, it's a combo. It's got a donut with a little cone wrapped around it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never made a donut and a cone together. That's pretty innovative.
It was. I saw it, because I always worry, I worry about him like choking himself. He's not the smartest dog. He's really cute, but so like it's kind of like the airplane pillow people. He's like this, and he'll just like start snoring when he's just sitting here.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Had you all heard this phrase, digital ghost ships? Had you heard about this?
Digital ghost ships.
Digital ghost ships. So basically, this is a term. Someone sent me a video about this, and it's IoT related. Basically, they're using that term to talk about devices that are connected to the internet, but maybe they're out of warranty. People don't know they're connected to the internet. They're really old, but they still work. So this video I saw, this guy, he was just going around looking for stuff that was internet connected, and it's like, cameras that people didn't know about that were in their houses, in their garages, on their streets. And he was able to geolocate a lot of these people and like go to their house and say, hey, did you know that we can see like inside your house? Or if you have a speaker that is, someone is talking to your kid on a speaker that you didn't know was connected.
I see. So these are old systems that are still connected that people are taking over, basically.
Exactly. Right. So it's creating like a security vulnerability, and a lot of people don't even know it's there.
Not surprising. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have connected speakers and cameras over the years and probably forgot about them. And
what was the name of that tool? I remember the early days of IoT, and there was a lot of talk. There was some tool people would use, and they interrogated the whole internet and found tens of thousands or millions of different IoT devices that are kind of exposed to the internet, no security, which is most of them, and identify like all of them, and it was like, oh wow. Maybe we should do this a little differently.
Yeah. Innovation. People.
Yeah. Well, I do remember the Twitter handle Internet of Shit, which was always funny. And it taught you about all the ridiculous IoT things that went wrong, which was most of them.
All the .com stuff that went wrong.
Yes.
Survived and still like ails us and inflicts us today. I mean,
absolutely.
They had some really creepy crap that and taken to market.
Probably the leading voice in IoT for much of this time is Stacy Higginbotham, and so she loved to talk about devices and companies where the company went out of business, but you paid $300 for a doorbell and it was connected, and now there's no backend server anymore, and there was like all kinds of things where it just died. You paid extra money for an IoT connected equivalent of a previous device that was dumb.
The
and now it just doesn't work anymore. It's bricked.
Yeah. I'd almost I guess the concern here is these things, they're still working. Right. That's a problem. Especially if people don't know. Like people move, they move houses, they don't know all the stuff that's connected to their house.
Well, I think it'd be great for people to run audits on there. I think there's like a tool for Xfinity or maybe for my Deco Mesh where it's like, here's everything that's connected to your network. And then you can see all the devices and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that camera in the garage is still connected and stuff. So people need to run those audits somehow,
Yeah. And I think that's like, that's a great service. Security, trust, all those things.
What's connected,
more of it, not less. And and how do you monitor that? Monitor that persistently, right, and constantly, because just your situation is always changing. So
it's a thing.
But because I was talking to my mom, I was explaining to her that don't trust anything.
No, you're right.
Zero trust.
Yeah.
Zero trust architecture.
Trustless.
I just remember having learnings, because there's like, when you think about, lots of people have written about the story of my life, of course. And so there was this time after I co-invented the Internet of Things with Al Gore, like in the early mid 90s. But then I went into the mobile revolution and and I was actually into I built, before I joined Microsoft, I built and sold a mobile device management company. But I had flashbacks. A lot of the stuff that helped me be better at building IoT stuff later, I learned from building MDM stuff for smartphones, because there's a lot of similarities behind how they work, getting telemetry off a device, updating it. And I do remember one of my competitors in the mobile device management space, who somehow managed to sell their company to like Symantec, so good for them. But the way they did their mobile device management stuff is they basically essentially had a web server running on your phone, and it was listening. So and so in their primitive mind, they thought, well, yes, if I need to connect to a device, I need to have it listening on the internet like a web server, which was stupid. And so then I fast forward to the earliest days of IoT at Microsoft, and I'm like having these architecture discussions with like Uli, Homan, and others at Microsoft, and we're like, no. Everything from an IoT device has to be outbound only. We create the connection from device going up. If you need to push something down to it, you're either polling or use a permanent nailed up connection or something like that with a different wire protocol. But a lot of people aren't that bright, or they're not idiots, but they just don't know any better. And so they go, well, my device needs to listen. How else would I talk to it? And that's how you get hacked, right?
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, that goes to this whole, I mean, there's just stupid design and not all innovation is good innovation, right? Sometimes some innovations connote really, really bad, dangerous designs, right?
We have a website called badinnovation.com.
Look it up.
Well, think about it. It's an idea that's really horrible, never been imagined before, and then now you're implementing it and you're selling it to people.
Sometimes bad innovations have success in the market.
Oh yeah,
they blow up.
Yeah. Bad.
A lot of the reason why this innovation is bad is because it's untethered from the actual operations, right? So it's like, okay, I can throw a grenade and walk away.
Yes.
And take my check with me.
That's right. And take my check.
Right.
Think about, as we just go stream of consciousness here, thinking about bad innovation, bad due diligence. I can't tell you how many M&A deals happen where the acquiring companies acquiring some other company with this bad innovation, but they don't know it's bad. And people don't know how to do technical due diligence anymore on companies. And they end up doing the acquisition, and it turns out it's a grenade that Debbie threw over a wall.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do a lot of that kind of like the tech integration for acquired companies.
Yeah.
And man, you learn very quickly over time that you need to look very holistic. It can't just be focused on interfaces and, the app, like the software architecture, things like that. You have to look holistically across everything and how, like the quality of the application design, everything. And
you got to go deep in that embedded code. That's why you call Olivier.
Plus, you have to have an exit strategy, right? Because this thing is not going to operate forever. You're not going to want it forever. Like I had a company buy something. It was literally like it was like the technology equivalent of a DeLorean, basically. So they have a very expensive thing. I think they paid a couple $1 million for it. The system to hold this data. And when I looked at it, I'm like, you can't get anything out of it. So if you wanted to exit out, they basically had to hire hackers to get the data out. It had no way to get the stuff out of the system once it was in there. Like, that's horrible. I'm like, and you bought this for several $1 million and nobody realized you can't get the data out of it.
The red flag was when they called their system the black hole. Even light can't escape.
Or the Roach Motel,
Oh no!
Yes.
Bad product names. Bad
innovation. Theme song, Bon Jovi. You give innovation a bad name.
Yes.
Oh no!
Sounds like a karaoke project next time.
Yes.
You give. Yeah. See, this is the good stuff that comes out of our.
That's right.
This is
good innovation.
It's funny you say that. I don't know. On the Instagram machine yesterday, there was like some deal posted with the multiple choice of what are the best things to say to your Valentine on Valentine's Day, and you give love a bad name was one of the options, actually.
It sounds like a hallucinating AI algorithm.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, no, we have our tune for next week.
Asterisk. Our advice may be wrong. Experimental.
Exactly. But that
experimental
that
Valentine
really did
advice.
did get things going for Bon Jovi though, so I have
It's
to
true.
give him props.
Worked for him.
Kind of kicked off,
Did. New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great song.
By the way, the other interesting note, just before I know we're closing out at some point here, but I did post about there was a flurry of semiconductor kind of merging rumors this past week with NXP acquiring Kanara and Meta potentially acquiring Furiosa, and then OpenAI designing their own chips. Like, seems to be kind of a bit of a move in that direction of consolidation and integration of semiconductors and software again, which is it's kind of cool to see. It's not unexpected.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see more of that. Meta having their own chips makes a lot of sense, right? Just like Microsoft, AWS, GCP, they have their own training chips that they use in their data centers now to minimize their cost and risk on NVIDIA and other vendors. So,
well, yeah,
OpenAI would do the same thing.
That's the thing about web scale, hyperscale, right? You have that scale to make it
worth it.
Yeah, worth it. And then this is one of the things that there's a lot of confusion about, that there is a difference between all the frontier model training stuff that's happening, which NVIDIA is really good at and good for because of their stack. And then the hyperscale operational supercomputing or computing that they do. Those are two entirely different things. So if you're like dumping like generative AI supercomputing into one bucket, or you see it as AI, the AI infrastructure thing is like it's actually very fragmented. Not so fragmented, but there are key archetypes that you have to be aware of that are actually different markets.
Yeah.
And people don't tune into that.
Right. And I think we'll see companies targeting different parts of that value chain for AI, from the you've got the low power inferencing to the kind of high performance inferencing to the training, and these are all distinct. And then these days you can design and tune silicon to do all kinds of different very specific things, and saving 10% on power or 10% on performance really can add up.
Yeah, and then I don't think the edge AI stuff is really different. That's an entirely different.
Yeah, that's like the Kanara stuff is really cool.
Like
what's Kanara, Halo, Blaze? I mean, there's a lot of these standalone kind of MPU class edge AI processors that typically are married with something, and so it kind of makes sense. You look at Qualcomm with Snapdragon and their NPU, it's like, well, I think we're going to see more and more folks adding edge AI semiconductor muscle to their portfolios, because
I keep bumping into Israeli companies that have been doing a lot of this stuff for a very long time. So
yeah, Halo, it's great stuff.
Including Halo, exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah, I bumped into them at Eureka Park. I had a chat with them. But whenever I go to CES, you always bump into some interesting things in terms of low power, like even neuromorphic stuff. Yeah, you find guys down there doing neuromorphic.
Inotera is a great neuromorphic company.
Oh, I got to hang out with you more, man. It's like, maybe I should change my.
Come to Austin.
Just come to Austin.
They're all there, man.
Invite me on to be a board member.
Milan. The next one is Milan. So if you can't make it to Austin, come to Milan, July 2nd to the 4th.
Good. That sounds
a little espresso.
Yeah. I think that sounds really good.
Actually.
All right. Okay. I think we're ready to close shop, right? Who wants to take us out? Olivier, you want to try?
Why not? Why not? I'll close with the disclaimer. Did we do the disclaimer at the beginning? Don't do anything that we say. Don't take us seriously. Just subscribe, listen to what we're saying, because even though you should not do it, you should listen because it's fun. Sometimes we're saying some clever things as well. It happens, especially Debbie and Ryan. Pete as well. The rest of us, I'm not so sure. The other thing is, if you subscribe, you should also consider contributing for Elevate Our Kids, which is that good cause that we're trying to support, right?
Right on. Awesome.
Thanks all for tuning in.
All right, see you next time.
Cool. You know, like cool stuff. All right.